When the government decides to fund for the future, the choice in front of them is straightforward: to maintain an old road built for a different era or build a different one for a near future.
Both requires money, but only one actually moves the world forward. So the real question is, should public funds continue to support fossil fuel giants or be directed towards clean energy startups that create the next generation of solutions?
My name is Phương Anh.
And I'm Đức Minh.
We are
EUREKA.
And today we explain it with evidence, not sentiment.
Well, the first reason that makes us firmly believe in investment in startup companies is due to structural resistance. Old systems cannot deliver new outcomes. In fact, legacy fossil fuel corporations face structural barriers so deep that even good intentions cannot overcome them. They owe trillions of dollars in sunk costs embedded in refineries, rigs, global supply chains, all designed for fossil fuels.
And to further support Đức Ming's argument, let's take an example of Shell as an illustration for this limitation.
To meet the most ambitious goals of the Paris Agreement, change needs to happen faster. Which is why Shell's target is to become a net zero emissions energy business by 2050 or sooner.
You might expect that emissions will decrease from now until then, but the opposite is true. In 2021, Shell expects to increase its gas emissions in 2030, the same year in which the world has to reduce its worldwide gas emissions by 60% to conform to the Paris Agreement.
In 2023, when oil profits rose, Shell scaled back its renewable investment plan. This is not moral failure, this is structural logic. A system built for fossil fuels will always prioritize fossil fuels.
As a result, funding them is like investing in an old, congested road. You spend a lot, but you still stay stuck in the same traffic jam.
Moving on to our second point, another reason is due to innovation. Real progress comes from those building the new system, not patching the old one. As we all know, startups begin with a blank page. They have no outdated infrastructure to protect, no oil profits to defend, and no quarterly pressure constantly pushing them back towards oil. That is why new players are consistently the source of major innovation.
And to further illustrate Đức Ming's argument, let's consider Tesla, a global example for all green startups. 20 years ago, Tesla was just a small startup company competing with century-old automakers. But now, it is the force and the catalyst that forced the automotive industry to electrify. Not because it was the biggest, but because it was the least attached to the past. And now, the entire automotive industry has an EV roadmap that forced them to electrify, because Tesla proved that a different approach was profitable and possible.
And this phenomenon isn't just limited to the world stage. Right in our own country, we can clearly see examples of Vingroup.
Yes, and I believe you are specifically referring to VinFast, right?
Exactly. Through VinFast, Vingroup became the first major Vietnamese company to commit fully to electrification. VinFast built a completely new system, an all-electric lineup, domestic battery development, long-term EV infrastructure. It did not wait for the old one to evolve. It created a new one.
Yes, and we can see that why Tesla reshaped the global EV roadmap, Vingroup and VinFast reshaped the Vietnamese conversation about transportation. But we can see that both share the same principle. Legacy companies make adjustments, while innovators create alternatives.
Lastly, investment in green startups is more profitable due to efficient use of state funds. Public money must follow long-term impact. According to the Carbon Majors database, just 36 fossil fuel companies were responsible for over half of all global CO2 emissions in 2023. Continuing to subsidize these companies is not a climate strategy. It is a sunk cost fallacy written into national budgets.
So, when the government decides where to fund for the green transition, the question is not ideological. In fact, it is structural, economic, and practical.
The question is simple. Do we continue financing the congested old road, or invest in building the road that leads to the future. The behavior of Shell, the global transformation driven by Tesla, and the impact of VinFast in Vietnam all lead to the same conclusion.
The motto for our project is that fund the system that can change, not the system that cannot.